Hello and welcome to Zero Cool Gaming, and today I'm going to be doing a review of a game called Hunted: The Demon Forge.
Desire can be yours.
So, basically this game starts out where you're given a vision within your dream of a sorceress or something to that effect and a demon who seem to be having a disagreement about something. And when you wake up, you learn that you've had this dream on several occasions. And you also learn that you're currently on a job for a person who is looking for a mana potion. So you travel to the spring where you're supposed to collect the waters or the mana from the spring for your job that you're on. And while you're there, you see a door that is the same door you've seen in your dreams on several occasions. So you open the door and you go through the rooms, and eventually you find yourself in front of a death stone. And when you do, the sorceress that has been in your dreams appears and asks you to touch it and pick it up. So instead of you touching it, your elven friend, your partner, ends up touching the stone.
I agree. You agree?
Excuse me. And as a result of that, a bunch of undead creatures start coming to life, or being brought to life.
Take a shot at that.
And you have to fight your way out. On your way to escape the ruins that you're in, eventually the demon itself that you've seen in your dreams appears, and you smash your way through a wall and escape the area before it can kill you. After you escape, the sorceress appears again and asks you to hand over the stone that you've collected so far, and tells you that you need to go to the town that is below the, I guess, mountain range that you're on, and talk to her father. And she asks you not to mention her or even her existence to her father. And you agree to do this, and you head out down into the town. When you get to the town, you find that there are a lack of people, a lack of merchants, and it seems that the town is being invaded and enslaved by a species of beings that normally would just eat people, not take slaves. And you find this behavior to be odd. But you also need to make your way to the town mayor, which is the father of the sorceress that you've been working with.
just getting through this
And in the
alive is
process
only
of doing
positive
so,
side I think.
you blow up a few bridges to try to save some town people. You rescue a few townspeople, and you learn little tidbits of information about what's going on in this town as you work your way through it. So as you're making your way through the town, eventually some of the town guard ask you to help them with bringing down one of the war guard towers that are allowing them to basically keep the town under siege while they continue to collect and enslave the human inhabitants. And you make your way to the area and you eventually do bring down the tower. After which your way is opened up to go meet and talk with the mayor. Upon doing so, he asks you to travel into the dungeons where the war guard are taking all the people and rescue his daughter, who is also being kidnapped and taken down there. And after some negotiation, the price for which you will be paid for this task, you agree to do it, and you head off toward the entrance to the dungeon. After entering the dungeon and then freeing a few of the humans that have been trapped within, you start to learn that the Wargar worship a Queen of Darkness, as they call it, which is a giant spider. And you were shown a vision of a silvery liquid turning the Wargar into a half Wargar, half spider creature. As well, the mayor told you that one of his guards had drank some of this liquid, and after doing so it permanently changed him, and he had a permanent addiction to the liquid itself. So between all of this information, you realize rather quickly that it's probably a bad idea to drink any of that silver liquid, even though the sorceress that you're working with says that you could drink it if you had to save your life. Most likely, though, it would permanently change you, and you would have a desire to not only drink more of it, but be in the servitude of the Queen of Darkness. So, yeah, don't drink the silver liquid. Even though it might make the game a little easier, it certainly has its side effects and downsides. So as you start to move up through the trail of slaves that are being marched along, you start to realize, as you talk to them, that there was another town ransacked a few weeks before, and that town as well was slated by the war guard for slaves to be captured and marched as well. So basically now you have two towns worth of people that are being marched somewhere as slaves. And as you continue to work your way toward the temple that you think they're being marched toward, you run into some Minotaur. And you see that the Minotaur are trading slaves for this silver liquid. And you wonder if it's the Minotaur that are creating it. But you also realize that that's probably not entirely correct either, because it seems as if the Minotaur as well are also addicted to this stuff. So the Minotaur are simply using it as a bargaining chip with the Wargar as a way for they themselves to get some slaves. Eventually, as you continue up the path, a demonic witch gets in your way and tries to kill you. And when you use the death stone on her, you see that there's another demon that is aware of your presence and actually orders her to eliminate the two of you. And you find that to be quite troubling, as you realize that as this quest continues, there will probably be even more sent after you specifically. Eventually, you run across a third town that is currently under siege and has been for about 3 weeks, which has also been slated for slaves to be captured and marched on. And you ask if any of the people that they've freed from the slave march are the mayor's daughter, and the guards tell you that they have no idea, but you can head toward a tavern, which is more like a fortress, and see if the person you're looking for is within that tavern. So you begin your trek across a besieged town, and a town currently at war with both Wargar and Minotaur, in an effort to locate the mayor's daughter, because you also know that if she's dead by the time you find her, there's a good chance the mayor's not going to be willing to pay you your fee for taking on this quest in the first place. So eventually you make your way to the king, and the king shows you the daughter of the mayor that you have been looking for. And upon doing so, you realize that the sorceress you've been speaking with and this mayor's daughter are not the same people. But she begs you to help the people that have been kidnapped, as well as the kingdoms that have been rampaged. And the king explains to you that the start of this mess was a mercenary that he had hired to eliminate some dragons. He gave this mercenary a death stone, much like the one that you carry, because he knew that the stone itself would enable the mercenary to hunt the dragons at it would basically immobilize the dragons or make them more easy to defeat if he used it on them. So you make your way out of the city and you fight a few dragons along the way, as well as some more Minotaur and the Wargog. I'm so horrible with names. And eventually you use the Death Stone on a dead dragon, and it explains the plight of the dragons, how the king had once used the Death Stones to enslave the dragons, and eventually the more powerful of their kind escaped from that slavery, and then the king used mercenaries to hunt them down and kill all of them, for the most part. So you continue your trek through, and you find a slave that is dying and eventually dies in front of you. And you use the Death Stone on him as well. And you see that the mercenary that you're trying to kill has essentially been turned into a demon at this point. And he's sacrificing the slaves to the silvery liquid, which by doing so creates more of this silvery liquid. And you continue to make your trek into the city that he's having other slaves build up. And as you do so, you eventually make it to where the citadel, or the center of the city, should be. And instead of finding a citadel, you find a giant hole in the ground. And you work your way all the way down that hole to the bottom, and eventually you end up fighting the mercenary that you were sent by the king and the mayor's daughter to kill. And then you use the death stone on him as well. And you find that he did find the dragons. He did start to kill off the dragons, but at some point, the silvery liquid had gotten into him and taken control of him. And the sorceress that you've been working with up to this point was killed by him. She was actually a member of his group. And then she makes an appearance and tries to have the both of you kill each other. And whoever survives will become the new host for the slag, or the silvery liquid. But because neither of you drank this silvery liquid, her attempts are pretty useless. And although you know you can't kill her personally, you realize that destroying the Death Stone will most likely destroy her as well. And you're correct in your assumption. And then you bury the silvery liquid under, hundreds of thousands of tons of rock, as you destroy the walls of the pit to prevent anybody from being able to get to it. But these efforts go in vain, as a small mouse, possibly a rat, ends up drinking some of the slag and becoming its new host. And that's how the story ends. So it's an interesting story. I get a kick out of it. I mean, it's a decent game. The gameplay itself is designed to be like a co-op game for two people to play at the same time. You have two characters through the whole story, an elf and a human warrior. And each of you, the elf is really good with the bow, or long distance, and the warrior is really good with melee. But both of them can do either task. It's just one's more suited for one task and one's more suited for the other. And as you go through the game, the sorceress that you work with throughout most of the game till the end of it continues to offer you new spells and sorceries to freeze or shock or stun the enemies, and upgrades to your weaponry that make it more powerful, so it's easier to take down the more powerful foes that you encounter as you travel through the game. So in truth, it's a very basic gameplay. And I think it took me maybe 10-15 hours to get through this game. I died a few times along the way. I had to go back, replay sections, stuff like that. But for the most part, it's pretty linear. It's a pretty basic storyline. But it's a decent storyline. I didn't mind it. I thought it was pretty cool. And it's not a bad ending. I mean, it's predictable, but not a bad ending at all. And that's kind of, the Hunted Demon Forge game. There were a lot of games that were made co-op like this around this time. And when I say a lot, I mean like 3 or 4. But for that time, for all of them to be developed all around the same time, that is quite a few different games to be this style, as this style in truth is not very popular, neither has it been widely used. You usually get like 1 or 2 of these type of games every 5-6 years. So it was an interesting time in gaming, to say the least, where they were not only experimenting with this type of gameplay, but even going back to some like 2D platformers and remaking or making new 2D platformers. So yeah, it was definitely a good time in gaming, for sure. This game itself came out in what? Give me a second. It was quite a while ago. 2011. So yeah. quite a while ago,
I kept people's spirits up.
before they really started injecting a bunch of insanity into games. And this game has a female character that actually looks decent, and a male character that actually looks masculine, you know, before they started injecting their woke insanity into games and making all the characters look as ugly as possible. But anyway, that's my rant for the day. I hope that you enjoy the rest of yours. If you could hit the like, subscribe, rumble, follow buttons, all that does help. And I'll talk to you later.
Everyone, weak, sick, men, women, everyone I knew, being slaughtered. I cursed our captors and their leader, the one known as the Nuven. It was all I could do, and it wasn't enough. They were not gentle to me. They left me for dead. But the others were slaughtered. Slaughtered to feed that slick.
Hell, we get past 2 dragons.
That's easy. You take the one on the right.
How about if we just use the stone?
I think your sword would do more damage, but if you want to throw rocks, be my guest.
The Death Stone. Use the Death Stone.
Ah, that's This almost feels like cheating.
When will you realize, girl, that cheating death is a good thing?
I think we found him.
How adorable. Seraphine's little puppets come to dance for me.